Alright, so before I get ahead of myself and actually create the Gerber files, which are the files that you need to actually output this, we're going to do some finishing touches to this. So if you want, we can also add silkscreen to this. So if you go ahead and place text right here, I can go ahead and type whatever I want right here. So I'm going to say, you know, 555 timer circuit. And if I go ahead and hit enter, that should go ahead and make it. One thing to keep in mind is that this is on the top assay. As you can see over here, it gives you a description on where it's placed. So the top assay is not actually used. What you want to go ahead is you want to put this on the top silk. So putting it on the top silk, that makes it so that it's actually located anywhere. And just to give you a heads up, if you want to go ahead and just go to 3D preview and visualize it, you can therefore see that on the silk screen, you'll see the 555 timer circuit label on it right there. And if you want, you can go ahead and make this thicker. Again, you can go ahead and edit this. I'm going to go ahead and add a space here. So right click, and you can do a variety of options. So if you want, we can go ahead and adjust the font. We can change the size. So I want to go ahead and make this a bit bigger. So I'm going to do size 3. Hit OK, so that's a bit bigger now. Font type, we can do true type, or we can do vector. These are two different options. Properties. These are just, if you wanted to reposition it. So this is the position overall in the entire grid system. And it's placed on the top silk. If you want, you can go ahead and put it on the bottom silk if you want to as well. So bottom silk, we'll put it on the bottom. So you go ahead and press 2. You can now see that the bottom layer has the silk screen 555 timer circuit. But I'm going to go ahead and put this on the top. So go ahead and go back to properties and go back and put it on the top layer, so top silk. Hit OK, and that should be it. And another thing to keep in mind, along with all this, I kept it in mils, but if you want to go ahead and change this to millimeters, all you have to do is go to View, then go to Units, and you can change to inch or millimeters, depending on what your manufacturer wants. You can use just to keep things, cohesive. So another fun option you can also do is you can actually also cover up other parts that you don't want to see. So if you want to cover the top silk screen layer, you can go ahead and uncheck it. So this is in the layer section of the design manager. If you go that, you can cover that if you don't need to. You can cover the top if you don't need to. You can cover the bottom if you don't need to. And these are all just the different layers. So you can go ahead and just play around with this and see if you want to see this or not. So for the top, you can go ahead and make that disappear. So that's another way. That's another option as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and export this into Gerber files that we can go ahead and use for manufacturing. So go ahead and go to File, then go to Export, and export to Gerber. So this is one file. You're going to be using Gerber, and we're using NC Drill. So NC Drill is the one that makes all the holes. The Gerber file is the one that makes the layers. Go ahead first, click Gerber. And with this in mind, we can go ahead and actually look over here. If you hit top silk and see preview, you'll see that it'll list out all the different silk screen layers right here. So this is actually all the white silk, the white ink that you see on the top of the circuit boards. This is what's going to map out to. You can do this with all of these as well. So top assay, just shows you just this thing right here, which is kind of not really useful. Top mask. So this is where all the little holes are going to be located. Top paste, this is if you want to use solder paste. So this will be used if you want to make a stencil. We'll explain that later, but as you can see, we don't have anything here because we don't require the use of stencil because we are not using any surface mount components. So this is just the top layer. So this is all the copper that we're going to have on the top. Bottom is just all the copper we're going to have on the bottom. So this is all the copper on the bottom. Bottom paste is just for the bottom paste, and you can do this vice versa for the bottom area as well. So bottom mask, bottom silk. So bottom silk is just the resistor and capacitor components. The assay, the board outline just shows you the the dimensions of the board. And top dimension, bottom dimension, we're not going to be using. So what you want to do is just pretty much just hit export all. This will just pretty much give you all the files you need. So hit export all. And we'll put this into, we'll put it into a folder, put into my desktop, and we'll make a folder for this called 555 timer Gerbers. Okay, so it's going to go, hey, you're going to go ahead and make the Gerber file for the top assay, hit save, and save in here. Okay, and it's going to keep making each of these files, so just keep hitting save. Alright, so that made all of the files you need, and it's now saved in the folder. I'm going to hit close now, and now we're going to go ahead and make the drill file. So go to export, then go to NC drill, and then just go ahead and just hit export all. It's going to say this issue right here, one of several tools that have been specified. You want to set them automatically, just hit yes. And go ahead and type in a through, through hole, or just through will be good enough, and hit save. And then now you have all the Gerber files that you need to actually send it off to a manufacturer. Alright, so I have all the Gerber files here, including the .drill file that contains the information on like where to drill the holes on the board. So we want to go ahead and double check exactly and see what Oshpark wants in particular. So they want the top layer board, they want the bottom layer board, they want the top solder mask, the bottom solder mask, the top silkscreen, the bottom silkscreen, and the board outline. This is only if you're doing a 4-layer, and you also need the drill file. It's okay if it's not like the exact same thing as like .gtl. All you really need are those files, and don't worry, they'll interpret the files accordingly. So you want to go ahead and get a board outline. You want bottom, you want bottom mask, you want bottom silk, you want the drill file, you want the top mask, and you want the top silk. And you're going to go ahead and just hit right click and go ahead and convert them into a zip file. I already did that for this case, so if I go ahead and open them up, you'll see that I selected the appropriate files that are needed. Okay, so with that, you can go ahead and get the zip file and go to home, and you can go ahead and hit get started now and select a file on your computer. Go ahead and select the zip file, and you can go ahead and just list the project name and description. It might ask you for your email. I'm already logged in to Oshpark. What Oshpark asks for you to do is to make an account, and with the account you can actually record and save all your designs, and it makes it a lot easier when you work with Oshpark because instead of always constantly uploading a new part, if you want to go ahead and use it, you can also just go back to your old designs and just print those out if you want to. Alright, so we just finished, it just finished processing, and now you can see right here, these are just the 2 sample boards, what they expect to be what they expect to look like. So I'm going to go ahead and call this 555 timer, and this is the 555 timer circuit. Hit continue, and it'll go ahead and just display you. In the case with Oshpark, it'll display you all the different all the different outputs and what it looks like. And as you can see right here, this is clearly extended out, but don't worry, for the case of Oshpark, this little black light means it's going to be cut off. So that's fine for us. So this is what the top is going to look like, this is what the bottom is going to look like, this is what the drill holes are going to look like, these are what the solder masks are going to look like. This is the top layer copper. You can clearly see that there's going to be some sort of minor issue right here, but we follow the design specs, so it should be okay. This is just kind of an issue with the rendering software. And you can see that here's what the top silk screen is going to look like, here's the bottom solder mask, here's what the board outline is going to look like, and here is the bottom layer, and here's the bottom silk screen. And you can go ahead and hit approve in order, or hit approve to order the stuff. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Pretty straightforward, right? So that concludes it. There's obviously more options in Diptrace, which you can go ahead and figure out yourself. On Diptrace, if you go to their website, they'll list out a variety of different tutorial videos, and there's also a forum page if you want. So if you go ahead and go to community, Diptrace forum, they also provide you can go ahead and go to those forums, and they give you more tutorials if you need to. This is just an introduction to Diptrace. There's a lot more options that you can use, and people also provide a lot of recommendations on the forum page, so it's a very good resource to use. On top of that, they also provide a guided tour, and you actually follow the tutorial series, which I'm not very a fan of. But if you want, you can go ahead and use that.